Turn me loose. I love that song. Alright, Godzilla Kong, The New Empire has been out for about a weekend now. Hopefully you've had the chance to go see it. If not, well, I do have a spoiler-free review of the movie. You can check that out. That is not this video. This video is gonna be my spoiler talk. So that is a spoiler warning. If you have not seen Godzilla Kong, The New Empire and you're planning on it, I don't recommend watching this video unless you don't care about spoilers, cause there's plenty to talk about when it comes to the spoilers in this movie. So you have been warned. And this movie, man, it's the talk of the town this weekend. Just from what I've seen on Twitter, everyone's talking about it. And of course it has everyone divided. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I had a great time with this movie. I saw it for a second time in IMAX 3D and it was awesome. So let's dive into the spoilers, because I mean, right out the gate, the movie starts off right with a couple of awesome action scenes. I mean, we have Kong down in Hollow Earth, right when he rips that one wolf motherfucker in half over his head and the entrails spill all over him. I was like, oh yeah, this movie knows how to have fun. And then you have a Godzilla fighting scene during the opening credits, where he's fighting Scylla? Is that how you say it? Scylla? Big creepy spider monster with a Cthulhu mouth. And that fight was awesome too. So yeah, like it starts off on the right tones with me. But touching on the human characters, yeah, I know. I won't stay on them for too long, but I do gotta say I might be the only one here, but I do care about Dr. Eileen Andrews and Gia. I mean, first of all, Dr. Andrews is now the head of the Kong Research Division at Monarch, but more importantly for this movie, she has adopted Gia as her daughter. I don't know why, just for some reason, I actually really like that. I think it's because as far as human characters go, Gia was the strongest point of the last movie, Godzilla vs. Kong. So now that she and Dr. Andrews have this mother-daughter relationship, I don't know, I like it. Which I feel like this is the actual very first time I actually care about a family in a Godzilla kaiju-ish movie. And yeah, that includes -1. I know, y'all gonna look at me like I'm crazy for that. Call me ass backwards, call me demented. That's just how I see it. I just like the relationship that they have. I found it sweet. Gia's going to school and she's getting visions of those 3 pyramids, which I'll touch on later. But just from that, just the fact that she's getting visions like Raven Baxter or something, you're like, okay, now these movies are delving into psychic energy and magic and shit. They are. That's undeniable by the end. The real meat of the story starts when Kong comes back up to the surface because he hurt his tooth chomping into that one wolf. That was pretty funny when Trapper made his entrance all like, I gotcha. And so now Kong has a metal tooth, which actually is used as a plot device later on. I thought that was pretty clever. And also, there's a distress signal that Monarch is getting, in the same way that Gia's getting her visions. It's those 3 pyramids, those crests. And so down we go into Hollow Earth. Kong goes back down and we go with Dr. Andrews, Gia, Trapper, and Bernie, Brian Tyree Henry's character, and that Scottish dude Mikhail who gets eaten by a tree. Although the group does get separated from Kong pretty much right when they land. Meanwhile, Godzilla's off pretty much just doing his own shit. This is the part where people say, yeah, this is mostly a Kong movie, which I will agree with that, absolutely. Because for pretty much the entire first half of the movie, maybe even more, Godzilla's not really involved with the main story at all. He's just off fighting other monsters, he's preparing for the end fight, but it does feel disconnected from the main storyline with Kong and the Scar King. It is still pretty cool though, he's absorbing radiation from that one place, and his fight with Tiamat I thought was interesting, because right when Tiamat comes on the screen, you see this monster is glowing pink, and I was like, aha! That's why Godzilla's gonna end up pink. He's absorbing all the pink from Tiamat. I actually appreciate that visual explanation. Godzilla's not just turning pink for no reason. And then after defeating Tiamat, Godzilla just goes into hibernation, which is his metamorphosis. Back down with Kong though, he goes on his own story quest, in which he meets Little Kong, who I guess is called Suko. That's the name that marketing gave him, I guess. And I found it funny that Suko was actually kind of a dick at first. Like he's misleading Kong into these other fights. And yeah, who else died laughing when Kong actually picked up Suko and started beating the other apes with him? I was like, oh my god, I feel like that borders on animal cruelty right there. I hope no giant monkeys were actually harmed during the making of this film. I love that one giant eel, like sea serpent leviathan motherfucker that Kong fights later. That guy was pretty gnarly. The fight lasted all of about 90 seconds, but I still just really like that design. The colors were really vibrant, like I said, fitting with the rest of the color scheme of this movie. It was just really cool. And eventually Suko leads Kong to the Scar King's lair. So alright, the Scar King. We learned that the Scar King just wants to take over the surface. Pretty cliche motivation for a villain. That being said, the Scar King oozes personality. I mean, the way he comes up, he's all leaning to his side like, who's this new guy? The way he actually laughs at him at a point, which yeah, love that scene that's already become a meme of that one ape chattering in Kong's face. He's all like, and Kong's just staring at him like, this motherfucker. I thought he was just gonna walk away and be like, whatever, but he did something way funnier. He pulls a Hulk from the Avengers and just punches him off screen. I died laughing. That shit was hilarious. Getting back to the Scar King though, yeah, he's a dick. I mean, he blames Suko for bringing Kong down to his lair, and it looks like Suko's father, or some big ape that's defending him, is probably his father. And then Scar King just kicks him into the lava. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, the way Suko's just breaking up after that, it's like, oh my god, yeah, that was probably Suko's father ape. That's what triggers this Scar King versus Kong fight, which is really cool, and it's of course what also triggers Suko to turn to Kong's side against the Scar King. But then we see the other big titan who was not marketed a lot in the trailers, Shimo. I love Shimo in this movie, dude. She's probably my favorite titan in this movie. And part of the reason for that is because she wasn't marketed a whole lot. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of toys and action figures, but as far as actual footage in trailer shows, we didn't see a lot of Shimo, and I thought that was really cool. Because Shimo is awesome. She's a giant quadrupedal lizard beast with ice powers. How is that not just, well, super cool? But we learned that Shimo is actually under the control of Scar King. The Scar King is actually controlling her with this glowing crystal thing. So you get the feeling that Shimo is naturally just this docile, gentle giant. Although her powers did bring about the last ice age, according to Dr. Andrews. But it's easy to see that she doesn't want to be under the Scar King's control. So she is a force for good in that way. So that's pretty sad. Let's free her. Meanwhile, the human group goes down deeper into Hollow Earth, and we end up meeting this ancient Iwi tribe that lives in isolation, and they can communicate with each other telepathically. That was the point where I was like, okay, this franchise is now delving into psychic energy and magic, which I feel like this whole Godzilla franchise has done before. I mean, not this MonsterVerse, but previous Godzilla franchises, previous Godzilla series, movies. I mean, I don't know for sure since I haven't seen every single Godzilla movie in existence, but I feel like there have been supernatural elements in those movies before, just besides, you know, the giant monsters. There's been magic before. What, didn't Mathra have like 2 fairies that followed her around at one point? My point is, there has been magic in Godzilla-ish movies before, so this psychic telepathic Iwi tribe should really come as no surprise to Godzilla fans. If you're not a big Godzilla kaiju monster movie fan, then yeah, I can understand how this might throw you off, but it just didn't with me. Also, cause I already knew this movie was gonna be ridiculous, so let's throw telepathy in there. Why the fuck not? And we also learn about their super convenient prophecy. I mean, seriously. Oh, they believe that they're gonna have some messiah summon Mathra, who I'll get to in a second, and the savior will be a Skull Island native. I was like, wow, how convenient, right? I don't get why it had to be that way, but yeah. Mathra is back in this movie. We've seen Mathra in the MonsterVerse before. She was in Godzilla King of the Monsters, but she died in that movie. Ghidorah blasted her with his gravity beam, and she disintegrated and dissolved and fell onto Godzilla. That's how he got his burning thermonuclear form and just, you know, did that Mathra blast that killed Ghidorah. Point is, Mathra died, but now Mathra's back in this movie, so I feel like this must be a new Mathra, right? This is another Mathra entirely? That's my headcanon explanation anyway. And I love Mathra. Mathra's awesome, as is her musical theme. I noticed there is a theme that Tom Holkenborg wrote for this score. Da, 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 da. There's a track on the soundtrack called Divine and Glorious. That's where that theme comes up. I looked at the YouTube comments of that track before the movie came out. People were like, Mothra's back! I love that. That's not actually Mothra's exact theme from the older franchises, but it sounds enough like it for people to assess that, yeah, that's Mothra. That's awesome. So yeah, Mothra 2.0. Cool. Getting back to Kong, he's in bad shape because Shimo gave him frostbite on his right hand. Right there, I was like, okay, so that's why he gets the power glove. Which I also thought was pretty convenient. What? Project Powerhouse. Oh, we just happened to have the prototype before it was shut down. We just so happened to have the part down here in Hollow Earth that would fit on his injured hand. How lucky is that? So yeah, Project Powerhouse, or as it's called in the marketing, the Beast Glove. The Bio-Enhanced Anatomech Seismic Thunder Glove. Beast. Action figures and toys for kids. But Kong's gonna need some help to fight the Scar King and Shimo, so he goes back out to the surface, which will attract Godzilla, who is now fully evolved. Hilarious scene where he calls Godzilla over to the pyramids and he's like, wait, I just want to talk. Godzilla's like, I'm gonna beat your ass. I told you not to come up here anymore. I love that we do get some Godzilla versus Kong action in this movie, because who doesn't love seeing those two fight? Best part is after Kong beats Godzilla down, he's dragging Godzilla by his tail. He's like, you're coming with me. I laughed pretty hard at that. That was pretty funny. And leave it to Mathra and Gia to stop this fight. So alright, back down we go. Time for the final fight. And this is where the movie officially loses its drug-induced mind. Because now all the main player titans are down in Hollow Earth. Godzilla, Kong, the Scar King, Shimo, Suko. And those two gravity pyramids collide, so now we have an anti-gravity fight with these big titans. What? This fight is literally a kid playing with action figures, you know? Like, I can see this fight being the beginning of a Toy Story movie or something. It's that crazy and awesome. I mean, seriously, just seeing Godzilla swimming around in anti-gravity is just something I never thought I would see. It's just entertaining and fun as all hell to watch. And as long as that is the case, I will enjoy the movie. Eventually, all the titans fall through a portal to Rio de Janeiro, which is where the second leg of the fight ends up taking place, which, holy shit. Scar King really does tower over all these people, doesn't he? That's actually one thing I was disappointed by in this movie is that there are no real scale shots of these titans, you know, like in the 2014 Godzilla movie, for example. We don't really see from the human's perspective how massive and huge these titans are. I would have liked to have seen that. But in any case, just like in the previous movie, these titans are slamming each other into buildings and hundreds upon thousands of people are dying. But of course it doesn't matter because this ain't the kind of movie where you're supposed to care about that shit. It's not. Rio de Janeiro is getting absolutely obliterated and I'm having a blast in my movie theater seat. And the fight ends with Zuko coming up with Kong's battle axe and destroying the Scar King's glowing crystal thing that gives him control over Shimo. So Shimo is liberated from the Scar King's control after probably thousands of years. Man, that must feel nice. Yeah, I'm sure Shimo's like, what the fuck? So Shimo uses Ice Beam on the Scar King, it's super effective, and then Kong just takes him and smashes him on the ground and just shatters him. It's like that one death in Jason X that everyone knows. But cool, alright, the Scar King is dead, and so we have victory! And all is right with the world. The movie ends with Godzilla going back to sleep in the Coliseum, which is hilarious. That's great. And Kong, Zuko, and Shimo go back down to the ape colony in Hollow Earth as their new leaders. Which is cool, alright, Kong's now got himself a family. Also gets me thinking that Zuko and Shimo are probably gonna show up in the next movie, which would be awesome. In conclusion, I still have a blast with Godzilla Kong the New Empire. I'm not gonna say whether or not I like it more than Godzilla -1, cause I don't even want to touch that debate. But comparing it to Godzilla vs. Kong though, I will touch on that. I'll say I personally like the fights in Godzilla vs. Kong more than the fights in this movie. However, I actually like the human story more in Godzilla Kong the New Empire than in Godzilla vs. Kong. So in that, the two movies, to me anyway, they balance out. And I like them both equally, the same. At least that's where I stand right now. As for the future, where the MonsterVerse could go from here, I think Adam Wingard did say that he has one more of these movies left in him, which I of course am totally down with. The MonsterVerse Adam Wingard Godzilla Kong trilogy. Yes, sign me the fuck up. I'm there. And seeing as how Godzilla vs. Kong I would say was more Godzilla centric and Godzilla Kong the New Empire was certainly more Kong centric, I think the third one in this trilogy should focus on the both of them equally. But also, here's my wild idea. Now that Mathra is back, let's have a solo Mathra movie. Why not? I don't know if I would see it performing well in the box office, but she's had her own solo movie before, and it was a pretty big success back in 1961. I'm just saying I'd be down to see that. Plus, it would be a new title in the MonsterVerse, and let's face it, as far as movies go, they've been lacking in new titles lately. They've all been mostly Godzilla with some Kong in there. Let's have a solo Mothra movie. I think that'd be cool. That's just me. But now I leave it to you. Where do you think the MonsterVerse should go from here? What do you think the next movie or two should be? What villain should they have? Should they bring back another villain from the older films, or should they make up more new ones? Or if they make more seasons of Skull Island or Monarch Legacy of Monsters, do you think they should tie into the movies somehow? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!